$50. All right, what I've done here so far, all I've done is DA'd all this body filler. $15, Bondo brand. I just wiped the big dents. As you can see, there were some pretty big ones. And I'm just DAing them. And now, before I use that other primer, I'm going to use this. I got it for $1 a can at a going out of business hardware store. So, and the only reason, sorry about that. The only reason I'm using this is because I'm not sure that I'm going to sand that other primer. I think I'm just going to use it as a, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. More as a sealer. So, what I want to do here is fill these, and I'm going to go back and sand this. So far I've sanded the car with 180 grit. I did all the body work with 80, now 180. And what I'll do is go back and sand the car with 220 before I use that primer. And then the paint, which that stuff's thick, man. It's designed for like tractors and stuff. So a lot of the junk that's on this, it'll fill. I just don't want any spots to die back where the mud's at. It might still, but you know, this is me testing out on a cheap, crappy car. Probably gonna use as my work car. Just to see, you know, I've never done it. Thought about it a million times. Never did do it. So, finally got a car I can try it on. Here I'm going on the edges of anywhere I kind of burn through, which this will wipe off the windows with lacquer thinner, so I ain't worried about that. That way this kind of gives a transition when I sand it, so there ain't any shrinkage. And this will tell me if this reacts with the paint that's on there. I'll be able to go ahead and sand it out before the other stuff gets on it, and I'll know whether to go on light coats or heavy wet coats right off the bat. I contemplated not even fixing the dents, but there were some pretty big ones, as you can see here. Getting new headlights, so I ain't worried about wasting my time taping these up. Getting a new grill, you know, it's a cheap job. So the least amount of tape and stuff I use, the better. I still got to sand over here a little more before I prime it. But I had the notorious rust hole right there that every Honda Accord with a moonroof has. I got a box of plastic. They're looking about 35 bucks for the plastic and 2 rolls of tape. I didn't use the whole 2 rolls. 1.5 inch and 1/4 inch. So you're looking at $8 for that. All I gotta do is tack it off, and I'm just gonna spray it. I was gonna use the Amazon paint gun, but it ain't here yet, so we're just gonna use what I got. It's drying currently. I wasn't too worried about not getting streaks in it. Primer, I didn't care. I did not reduce the primer down at all. I sprayed it out with my 1.4 tip gun after being warmed up. See, when it was wet, it looked like that. let it dry off, pack it off. I did get some dust in the hood, mainly just on the hood. And I think that's from doing the roof first. Either way, I would have got dust on it. But what she looks like in primer. Rust-Oleum primer. Let's get y'all part number here. All I want is the rusty metal primer, whatever the crap that was. Alright guys, it's still wet, self-leveling. I wish I had had that other gun to spray it. It would have sprayed out much slicker. It's weird how a bigger nozzle would actually make a thicker viscosity paint lay out slicker, but it does. This is it. I'm gonna paint the wheels black, lower it. I got a spooler I'm gonna modify to put on it. She's getting there. One of the things I forgot to mention is I had only put one coat of primer and one coat of paint because I didn't reduce it any, and I needed to cover some pretty big scratches, so orange peel really wasn't a concern of mine. I wanted it to fill the scratches more than I cared about the orange peel. I can always go back later on and wet sand it and put a nice thin wet coat on it to slick it out, or just buff it. But I ain't sure what direction I'm going to go with the car just yet. I lowered it about 2 inches. I just cut the springs. I'm waiting on some parts to come in. As a random spooler I had for, I think, an Integra. I just mocked up and modified to fit. But yeah, what she's looking like so far. For about $150, I changed this car into a rat rod. I'm still waiting on the headlights to come in. My tires came in. Gotta get back here so y'all can see. One thing that I forgot to tell you is everything on that car I did like somebody would do who doesn't have professional equipment. How I sprayed it, how I prepped it, how I sprayed it. All that artwork was done by hand. I brushed it all on with a brush by hand, and then just added the pop rivets. I added the fender flares to make it look even lower. Even though it's super low, I'm going to possibly get some wheel spacers if I can get them cheap to push the wheels out and make it look a little better. But everything was done how you would do it at your house. So don't think you can't do this. I took this ugly thing and I made it into something unique. Yeah, I went above and beyond what most people probably would have done. They probably would have just stopped with a pinstripe. But I really wanted the rat rod feel. I just really like that for some reason. And I know I spelled Smokey wrong. There's a little bit of comedy in there. So